My name is George Muturi from Agritech Organic Farm. I'm 25 years old. We are based in Kaga, Rari Sub-County, Kiambu County. In this structure, we have a system where we call vermiculture, that is the rearing of earthworms for the purpose of production of organic fertilizer and organic foliar feed. In the beds we have compost manure, that is cow dung, dry leaves and also wet leaves. Also we have the worms inside the beds, and that is where the process of decomposition of that waste goes on. We do this either once in a week, then we add some water to make that concentration moist so that the worms can be able to come and feed. I completed high school back in 2013. I had a C+, so I applied to go to KU, and my application went through. Had applied the BCom, but now I had a challenge of getting now the fees. I had someone who wanted to pay for my fees, but I had to go for a course which he wanted, which was education. But personally, I was not passionate about teaching. My mom is a teacher, but personally, I didn't feel like it was my thing. I had never wanted to be employed. I started chicken farming. It was doing good, but now the cost of feeds and considering that I was doing indigenous chicken, it was not really viable. So I started looking for an alternative way of feeding my chicken, and that's when I came into vermiculture. On evaluating, I realized that the compost we get now from the worms was of high quality, so I majored more on producing now the compost and the foliar for organic farming. So we feed the worms on a variety of items. One, mostly we use cow dung, which is readily available, rabbit droppings, something like napier grass, which the cows have already fed and its waste. We use other leaves like tithonia, Russian comfrey, and variety of other leaves. We have to give this bed some time, a period of 1 to 2 weeks, without feeding, without adding any water, so that the excess moisture or the excess liquid either will evaporate, so that it will be easy for us to harvest and sieve easily without any complications. After a period of mostly 2 to 3 months, the worms will have broken down everything, and then we'll be left with a very fine manure or compost, which now we will harvest. We will have some leftovers which were hard for the worms to feed on. So, and we'll be able to harvest now that and sieve, thereby separating the worms and the fine particles and the other bigger particles, and we'll be able to get now our fine particles, which will be the organic fertilizer. A vermi-liquid, it's any liquid that comes from the bed once we add some water. We say it contains nutrients which are available on this bed, provided we are adding some water. So the water will come and carry the nutrients through to our correction point. So vermi-liquid is a type of organic fertilizer or organic foliar feed, which we use to spray our vegetables, fruits. I started back in 2014. After 1 year, I'm not getting anything. After 2 years, but still something inside me was telling me to push on, to push on. We sell our compost at 70 bob per kilo. We sell our liquid at 150 per liter. We sell the worms at 2,000 per kilo. One bed like this in 2 to 3 months can give us 150 to 200 kilos. We can get about 15 to 20 kilos of worms. For the liquid in 3 months, we can get from 60 to 100 liters of the liquid from each and every bed. After every 3 months, we are able to make now from the beds about 50 to 100,000 from now our composting units here. I've also employed someone else who works in this farm. I get farmers from different regions to train them on the worms and insects. I do consultancy works for different groups or institutions. I'm also planning to get back to campus so that I can be able to manage my businesses better.
Fashion. I love fashion. I just love dressing up. Going to university is not a guarantee that you're gonna get a job or make it in life. Number one, you honestly have to be street smart and book smart at the same time. I was in Maseno school and I scored an A-. I pursued a degree in astronomy and astrophysics at the University of Nairobi, where I graduated. But before I did, I ventured into entrepreneurship at third year. I love art. I draw, and fashion was something that I never actually thought that I would apply my artistic self in it. So I used to draw a lot of sketches, and then once upon a day I found myself approaching a tailor and asked him to do a design, and he couldn't do it the way I honestly envisioned it. So I decided, these guys are letting me down, why can't I just go and do it myself? 6 years later, here we are. 8,000 shillings that I saved for around 3 semesters to buy that. So it's all about just saving, be persistent, and just push and be passionate about whatever you're having. I was working from my room, and that's why I learned how to put up a suit. And the first client was definitely myself, because I had to try out my product. It was something that I used to enjoy. So most of my buddies back in then asked me, why shouldn't you sell these things? So when I started selling, that's when I realized, oh, so there's actually a market for this. I learned how to sew partly on YouTube. I was an apprentice to a certain tailor who actually showed me how to just do a straight line when you're stitching. One of the major challenges that I faced when I started the business is I was too young, and the business that I'm in, the older the tailor, the better the cloth. The other issue that I have was to raise a capital to do a couple of things, maybe to do my marketing, to do my branding. But I decided to go with bootstrap financing, whereby I just save. When you get it, hit it up. We deal in bespoke tailoring services. We majorly focus on suits, work suits, wedding suits. We've done a couple of styling events. We recently ventured in doing African wear. My business in the last 6 years has been fun. Depending on your budget, I can either source the fabric locally or I import a special fabric for you. We can do between 15 and 20 suits in a week. That was when everything was okay. Business has definitely gone down with the COVID. Yeah, especially with the fact that now majority of my clients are working from home. There's no need for you to wear a suit to work. And then now with weddings being restricted, that also has kind of put a knife on my business's heart. I'm happy where I am, and this is the path that I chose, and there's only one way forward. I don't think I can go back. Yeah, but astrophysics still lives in me, so given the opportunity and chance, maybe I can do consultancy, but not like being in a lab or in an office. I find office spaces too restrictive.
It's still mysterious how a pencil and paper could bring so much peace in my life and joy. I am an artist, a hyper-realistic and abstract artist. I am 26 years old. I cleared high school in 2011. I got an A- and I was admitted to Technical University of Mombasa to pursue building and civil engineering. But along the way, I realized that the course was not accredited by the Engineering Board of Kenya. My performance started going down in a way I couldn't believe because I didn't have that love for engineering anymore. When I called JAB and forwarded my case to them, they told me that inter-institutional transfer was only possible within the first year of studying, and I had already done 2 years of campus studying. I decided to drop out from the campus. Since my primary school education, I've been always a bright kid, a kid that was so much valued by the society and used as a role model by some parents to their kids. My parents also were very disappointed. I tried to explain to them about the issue of accreditation, but they couldn't understand what accreditation is. This led to a lot of frustration in my life. At a point, I felt like I was hopeless. I decided to try something that I used to do, a small drawing on a sketchbook. And up to now, it's still mysterious how a pencil and paper could bring so much peace in my life and joy. It gave me an easy opportunity to train and remind myself about art. With the small knowledge I had acquired in high school, I tried to advance it by studying from the internet from various artists. For the last few years I've been doing art. I've focused on portraits, people portraits, and animals. I found so much peace and solace in art, found so much joy. It was fun making art pieces, converting people's faces into a beautiful art piece. I have a passion for the small details. You have to lay each and every detail perfectly to where it's supposed to be. It will take me, like, if I estimate, maybe 50 hours plus to finish the lion. I started by marketing my works, posting them on Facebook, marketing them. I saw my commissions increase from maybe 2 a month to 5, and now I can do about 15 commissions a month. The same community that was using me as a bad example, actually some of them used to mock me that I dropped out of campus to draw. Everyone knows how COVID-19 disrupted people's plan. I still have a hope of having a solo exhibition. Art is something I love. It has been a great part of my life. It's something in me, something I love to do. And through it, I'm able to pay my bills, earn a livelihood. Even if I pursued engineering and I came to graduate, at the end of it, I still believe I would have been an artist.
My parents were pushing me. You have to do medicine, you have to do medicine, but I didn't like medicine in the first place. My father is in the medical field, so when I cleared high school, my grades combination, I had qualified for nursing, so I didn't want to take nursing. So they told me you have to do IT because everyone is doing IT. In 2012, I joined JKUAT in Nakuru town. I did IT just for 6 months, then I dropped out. I realized it was not my passion. I didn't like IT. At times I will not go even for lectures. So my mom asked me, what do you want to do? I told her cooking. I had made up my mind, so I applied for a January intake at Mount Kenya University to do a bachelor's in hospitality management. When I graduated in 2016, I was already working in a hotel. Working in a hotel, sometimes it's hectic because of the hours, the long hours. You have to stand, you have to make the customer smile, you have to smile for the customer. So I decided to go into self-employment in 2019. Because of the experience that I got from the hotels, I thought I was matured enough to start a business. My passion for baking started when I was in class 6. Using a jiko because we didn't have an oven, or maybe sometimes you go to a neighbor who has an oven. I basically bake birthday cakes, anniversary cakes, graduation cakes. I do muffins, Danish pastries. Everyone can bake, so it's just the passion, and it's fulfilling on my side because it brings out the joy in me. So these are my strawberry queen cakes. You know, sometimes cakes can disappoint you, especially when it's out of the oven, it has not yet cooled, then it breaks. So you see, no one will take it. If it's not good, I redo the cake. Or if I can't redo the cake, I sell it to them. Yes, my parents buy the cake, you know. In my mind, I think that I won't get orders because of COVID. People are at home, no money. But God has been faithful. I've received lots of orders during this COVID season. Children are celebrating birthdays, couples. In a week, I can bake like 5 cakes, or maybe queen cakes. Most of them prefer queen cakes, or even bread. There's a shop in town where I also do the small pastries. Now the cake is complete. My future plans, I need to open a bigger shop in town, a cake house. I'll offer employment to young people.
Graduates enter the job market with the hope of getting formal employment, but what they don't know is that only 1 out of 5 of their lot stands a chance. This means majority of them have to find alternative ways of earning an income.
we believe papers will grant us success instead of working for the success. So you find someone coming from graduating, you toil for like 2 years, what next? You do a master's. You go to an employer, you feel over entitled, the employer feels, now this one is even too overqualified. The job that I want to offer is actually just a tiny job. You know, so it's usually never about the papers. And I think people should stop chasing papers and start chasing purpose.
There is no way the formal economy will ever be able to produce the kind of jobs, the number of jobs and the kind of jobs that the youth are looking for. We are currently also doing a survey in the informal economy to figure out what's really happening there. And as we've been talking about formalizing the informal economy, finding out, does this really resonate with the informal sector players? Do they want to be formalized? So how can we offer them incentives as an employer's body for them to see the attraction in formalizing? And that is something that is going on, so that we can support government with facts and figures, with statistics, to be able to inform national policy in this very important area. So I think entrepreneurship is something that we as employers support, and the government is looking at how to support youth who would be then well-established entrepreneurs, starting small but building sustainable businesses that would in the end also provide employment. I think we neglected even agriculture as a subject of study. It lost its glory. Africa can be the supplier of food so that we are food sufficient as a continent and as a country. It's a shame that we have to import things like maize sometimes, which are things we can produce. We need to look at our sugar sector, for instance, the traditional sectors that we have, the tea sector, so that these can be ongoing in terms of the cash crops that we export, but also small-scale agriculture. There are a lot of young people who are actually doing a lot of wonderful work in agriculture. You just need to discover it and start small, and then that is something you can be sure of. But of course they need markets. They need to be linked to markets where they can sell their products, which is where perhaps the private sector comes in.
We see that the government imports a lot of fertilizers and synthetic fertilizers, which are, in the long run, they are bringing more damage than good to our nation, to our soils. So the big picture in this is that we do this big, we provide more organic fertilizer, we benefit our soils, we eat healthy food.
I hope, and honestly really hope, that some of our industries like Rivertex and Raymond come back to life, because they had real quality fabrics. But I think our government really needs to pump in so much effort. Actually, the fabrics that come from outside are slightly substandard.
The key thing here is to generate the factories that perhaps have become dormant, have been closed and not functional, to make sure that there is economic activity beyond Nairobi. That was the idea behind devolution. But because it's not happening fast enough, Nairobi seems to represent the hope and ambition for everybody. If that could be resolved, and then we create cottage industries for the youth to be able to go to, I think that would address the issue. But until we are able to create economic activity in different parts of the country to the level where the youth population can see some hope, then we'll continue to see this migration into the city.
Our generation is not patient. We live in a generation where instant gratification is all we seek for. I'd blame partly our social media for that, because then the kind of standards that are being set out here, you as a young person, you want to drive a Range Rover, your father drove his first Corolla in like 20 years. You want, since you got a first job, you want to drive a Range. How? people are not ready and willing to work hard these days for whatever their goals are. Yeah? So Rome was not built in a day.
The whole world has this quick fix approach, and we've inadvertently passed it to our youth. They are grappling with the world that they found, and everything is fast, everything is available online. I can understand the challenges they're facing, but the values that we have as Africans, I think at the end of the day, are still there.
You may want either your child to be either a lawyer, a doctor, but maybe your child is really not passionate about that course you are advising him or her to do.
Queen cakes that we made, the strawberry. Parents, allow your children to do what they feel like doing and support your children, because my parents have supported me. Even if your kid wants to become a DJ at a younger age, just allow them. It's inside them.
If there's a chance of converting your passion into a career, then I think that will be the best thing to do.
My parting shot to those guys who have recently graduated is, number one, it's not easy, and no one will hand it over to you. Be ready to toil, but be optimistic. There's no shortcuts in this.
There are projects like the Kenya Youth Employment Program, the KIO program, to which the FK is a part of. There are ongoing studies to see exactly what is happening in the informal economy and how can we support the youth in this. We are working with the ILO in that area. We are looking at informal settlements in the refugee camps where there's a lot of youth already, and there's a lot that's going on there. So looking at how to scale that up to encourage this entrepreneurial spirit and build the skills of the young population to be able to run their enterprises in a sustainable manner.